start on this episode of Star Wars in the Galaxy, we have a big announcement for all of you guys. What announcement do we have, Jacob? What's happening with the podcast?
We have a Twitter now.
We are on Twitter. Yes, we are. Follow us on Twitter. We both have access to the Twitter account, so we'll both be tweeting about stuff that's going on with Star Wars and the podcast. I'm thinking of doing a name reveal an hour before every podcast goes up. Speaking of every podcast going up, that's another thing. We now have a weekly upload schedule. Our podcasts are going up now Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I or Jacob will be announcing the title for that week's episode, like I just did with last week's episode, The Phantom Menace. And so follow us on Twitter. We're at InAGalaxyCast. And yeah, I guess on to the episode. Let's do this. Hello there. Welcome back to In a Galaxy, episode 3 of season 2. We've watched minutes 40 to 60 Star Wars, episode 1, The Phantom Menace. I'm Eli.
I'm Jacob.
And welcome to this episode. So, welcome. This episode, I feel like this segment, 40 to 60 minutes, is really used for one thing and one thing only. I don't know if you felt this, but it really does feel like a build-up to the pod race.
Yeah, definitely.
The pod race seems like a major event, and it just feels like it's a very building kind of thing.
Yeah.
Let's see. So first,
where to start?
First, while Qui-Gon, Anakin, Obi-Wan, Padme, and all the people are doing stuff on Tatooine, we get a glimpse of what the dark side is doing on Coruscant. Here is an interesting piece of behind-the-scenes trivia. I don't know if you knew this, but the scene with Maul and Sidious discussing their plans was the first scene ever shot for The Phantom Menace.
Really, the first scene? Wow.
Yeah, that was the...
Because it's in the middle of the movie. Right?
Yeah.
I guess it just goes to show you don't have to film things in order.
It's weird, because, there's stuff with, when they were shooting the last 2 Harry Potter movies, Deathly Hallows Parts 1 and 2, the last scene they shot was from... They filmed both of them at the same time, even though they were 2 separate movies, but the last scene they filmed for Harry Potter was from Part 1.
Really?
Yeah. So,
I guess it helps to protect against leakers, maybe.
Yeah, it's just really interesting that was the first.
Must be. Makes it kind of less of a nightmare.
Yeah, it's just really interesting to me that was the first scene they filmed. Also, let me just mention, we get our first glimpse of Coruscant in this, and I really like the planet of Coruscant. It always looks so beautiful, whether it's in The Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith or the Clone Wars. I've grown to love that planet because we get to see it so much. You agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see. I'm trying to look through the notes over here. Oh, I wanted to tell you about something related to Coruscant. Remember last episode what you said? I will put a little editing thing. I included this in the editing for last episode, but remember last episode when you said, I think Qui-Gon says Coruscant 2 different ways?
He pronounced it completely differently.
Wait, what?
Each time that he said it. It was like, if I do recall, he said it differently each time, which...
Interesting. I'm gonna look at that in editing. I'm definitely gonna look at that in editing. This is a reminder to future Eli to look at that in editing. I looked back at that. That is 100% true.
Yeah.
He indeed
I think that I've heard it. It's weird because I've heard it pronounced so many different ways. I've heard it pronounced Coruscant. I've heard it pronounced Coruscant. I've heard it pronounced Coruscant. I've heard it pronounced Coruscant.
He pronounces it the first and the third. The first and the third ways he mentioned is what Qui-Gon says in that scene.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, Anakin says when he's talking about there's like a chip in his head that if he ever runs away, chip in his body.
Actually, it's expounded upon in the novelization. It's like an explosive chip.
Yeah, an explosive chip.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and he says some throwaway line like, "I'm trying to build a scanner to try and locate mine." If Watto catches him with the scanner, what does Anakin think's gonna happen?
I don't know. I guess that's the risk he's willing to take.
I mean, I guess it's just like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem very. It just doesn't seem very smart to me. But okay. They also said
as he said, "I'm a person and my name is Anakin."
Yep, he did say that. Let's see what else. Oh, Qui-Gon says they are pod racing on Malastare. And I just want to say, the
from Malastare, Sebulba's from Malastare, right?
Yeah, I do. I was gonna say I love the episodes.
The best. She's a lot. He's technically still the best.
I was gonna say I really like the episodes that take place on Malastare from the Clone Wars. The Zillo Beast. Those episodes were awesome. Mostly because there was only one ever disc of the Clone Wars I ever owned on DVD, and that disc of the Clone Wars was the final quarter of season 2. And one of the arcs was the Zillo Beast arc on that, so I remember watching that a gajillion times because, I just had it. So Anakin proves to be very, very, like a lot of people in the galaxy, very, very inept about the Jedi.
He doesn't know anything. I mean, I think what becomes clear, and also through the lore, what we understand is that, like, the Jedi are very misunderstood, right?
They are. He said, Anakin says, I saw your laser sword. He also said... Yeah, but he also says, which is my biggest pet peeve, I know this is a little nitpicky for me, but, like, seriously, my biggest pet peeve is when a non-Star Wars fan calls, the fighters of the light side, a plural fighter for the light side, Jedis.
Yeah.
Anakin does it in the movie.
Like, how are you supposed to know?
I know, it just annoys me. He says, only Jedis carry that weapon. I just kind of internally cringed inside.
I mean, if he doesn't know anything about the Jedi Order, can't say I blame him, but...
Also, Qui-Gon says to, Anakin, what if I killed the Jedi and took it from him? I'm like...
Impossible. No one can kill a Jedi. Well, obviously, that particular comment didn't age too well.
In spite of that becoming a meme, I actually really like the no one can kill a Jedi thing. It's
good. I feel like it's amazing.
I was about to say it's really good foreshadowing because in the original trilogy we see the Jedi for the most part as these unstoppable superheroes.
I mean, we don't really see any of the Jedi in the original trilogy.
True, but we can only imagine that Jedi are, like, unstoppable superheroes. And the prequels build that up even more, only to immediately shoot that down when we see Order 66. So I think the no one can kill a Jedi line is really just an interesting line to me to start at the beginning from, because it keeps getting disproven and disproven and disproven, first at Geonosis, then over the Clone Wars, and finally in Order 66 and the Great Jedi Purge.
Yeah.
Anakin also says to Qui-Gon, you come to free us. That's why you're here. And, like, Anakin, Qui-Gon could be here a gajillion other reasons. One of which is, his ship crashed on the planet.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say is Anakin doesn't seem very smart.
He's like 7 years old or whatever. We're at 9. He's 9 years old.
I wouldn't be complaining about Anakin not seeming smart, except Qui-Gon seems to think he's some sort of genius.
He doesn't think he's a genius, he just thinks he's strong with the Force. Those are two different things. In my opinion.
I don't know. Also, actually, I want to mention this other thing. Pernilla August. Pernilla August plays Shmi Skywalker. Here's another interesting piece of behind-the-scenes trivia. Did you know that Pernilla August had never acted in a single English-language-speaking film before The Phantom Menace?
Swedish name, right?
Yeah.
I know, at least I've known people who are Swedish who named Pernilla, so...
Yeah, she's Swedish, and this was her first English-language film. And she knocks it out of the park. So much so, I think, that she performs better than a lot of people who it wasn't their first English language film. It's kind of shocking. I don't know. Any of your thoughts for, the stuff in Anakin's house?
I don't know. It just seems kind of like a house. The part where Qui-Gon grabs Jar Jar's tongue is, in my opinion, particularly choice.
Yeah, Jar Jar's antics just get, in my opinion, worse and worse as this movie goes on, until finally at the end we're just at him chucking random stuff at the battle droids, and the battle droids somehow collapsing and falling because George Lucas said they would.
So I'm gonna put it for sure.
Yeah, I know. Let's see, I'm trying to figure this out. Let's see, where... Oh yeah. So, I want to ask you something else, okay? The pod race, the pod racing kind of plot device, where it's seen as, the only way of getting, Anakin and his...
You're a Jedi.
Yeah, I was about to say that, call the Republic for a pick-me-up. What is...
Isn't the, like they said, slavery is illegal in the Republic, so arrest Watto for owning slaves and free them. It doesn't...
Another good idea. Or, at least call the Jedi and say, hey, we got stranded on Tatooine running from the Trade Federation. We need help.
Can you wire us some credits? Yeah.
Well, Watto doesn't accept credits. Can you...
Wire us some currency.
Yeah, wire us some currency that Watto will take. Geez, there were so many other options that they just could've... And they say later it's too dangerous to call for help. Why is it too dangerous to call for help? I understand the Federation might be tracking... that's really what it is. You see, that's really what this whole thing is. The Trade Federation should be scared to get in the way of the Jedi. Which they are. But the Jedi should, I think, exploit that a little bit more. Look, two Jedi protecting a queen from your people, yes, we know that's true, but two Jedi are stranded and we gotta get them some money or aid or help. And Quinlan Voss, actually, freaking Quinlan Voss, we found out he was a Jedi right there. He couldn't have given Qui-Gon some help,
Yeah. It's weird.
It is so odd. And then we get Anakin's origin story, I guess we could call it. Jacob, remind us, who is Anakin's father?
There is no father.
The Skywalker saga was created because, Anakin...
It's so funny, like, was Qui-Gon supposed to just believe that, like, when he just asked, like, his just like, no one is the father.
Yeah, no, but, like, seriously, Anakin's virgin birth is maybe one of the most puzzling aspects of this movie. And believe me when I say it's one of the most puzzling, because there's so much in this movie that's puzzling. And we haven't even gotten to Attack of the Clones yet.
Oh yeah, Attack of the Clones is your least favorite, right?
Yeah, and it's the most puzzling Star Wars movie in my mind. It is. There's so many things in that movie that just do not add up for me. But we will get to that when we get to that. Anakin is being tested for Qui-Gon administers a blood test. By the way, Qui-Gon's just having Anakin's just having some random guy, test his blood. Doesn't seem
nothing to see here. Not a zilch.
Nope, nothing. But anyway, what I was gonna say about that was, we got our first midichlorian reference. Now, let me ask you, Jacob, what is your opinion on midichlorians? Because everyone seems to have one.
I don't know. I kind of think they're stupid. I'm not fond of them. I'll admit they're not my favorite concept, but whatever you gotta do, George. Well, it is what it is. As they say.
My opinion on it is kind of similar to yours. It's just, I don't know. It feels like it's trying to say the Force is quantifiable, but it's the Force. You can't quantify the Force. You can't, it's the Force. You can't really do that with it. It's not scientific. It makes many, points of being connected to the natural world and being in balance with yourself and finding that inner conflict and balancing your own inner conflict. You can't quantify that.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. But then how do we determine, who's Force sensitive and who's not?
Well, either you're open to it, either you have the discipline of mind and the strength of will to be connected to it. It reminds me of a frame from the third issue of the comic The Rise of Kylo Ren, where Luke is mentoring some young Jedi students, and he says the Force is like a door. You have to be open to it. You have to feel
it I remember that.
coming.
That comic. It's like, what does he say? Ben's not more powerful. That's not how it works. It's like a door. Well, I told you that the other day, and you said you didn't believe in it because you thought some people are more powerful than the Force.
I do. It's complicated for me. I think the Force. I think if you have someone who's naturally more skilled with the Force, who's not open to it, but who's someone who's less skilled, but is more open to it, I think there's a great possibility the less skilled person will win. I think skill
is learned. Do you mean talent?
Yeah, talent. That's better. Thank you. I think a less talented person could beat them. I think it really does depend on how strong, in your core, there's a certain part of you where I don't think that's quantifiable though. I don't really know. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's not. It's hard to say honestly. I don't know if I have.
In midichlorians, I think midichlorians just convolute it more that it doesn't really need to be. So, let's see. Also, Maul arrives on Tatooine, and we get a beautiful shot of his ship, the Scimitar. I love the Scimitar, let me just say this. I hate Maul, I love his ship. His ship is awesome.
The Scimitar is...
The
Scimitar is
I wish we got to see more dark side stuff, because it's really cool. Also, did you notice when Maul first stepped foot on Tatooine, you could hear very, very, very carefully, there's some Sith thing going, Korra, Radama. Yeah.
Notice that. That's awesome.
It's very creepy, and it adds to the mystique. It's very creepy, and it adds the mystique to Maul and all of his, mysticisms, I guess you could say. Also, his probe droids, really creepy.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or are those probe droids really creepy? I don't think they're actually probe droids. I feel like they're IDW-9 seeker droids, if I remember correctly.
I don't think that. No, I think the seeker droids are Star Wars, right?
The ID9 seeker droids is Seventh Sister. DRK-1 probe droids is Maul. I just looked it up. DRK-1 probe droids is Maul. Let's see, what else? Oh yeah, I think this would be a good time to talk about the pod race. And where, Jacob, has the pod race made a huge impact in more things than any other things?
I'm not quite sure about this, but maybe memes. I don't care what galaxy you're from, that has to hurt.
I was actually going with, believe it or not, video games. I mean, how many pod racing video games are there?
So many pod races.
And it's for me, pod racing in video games is always so goddarn hard. Like, I remember the first Star Wars video game I ever got was Disney Infinity 3. And that pod race, and that pod race was so hard. Same thing with Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga. You had to go so carefully. You had to do that pod race so carefully that if you made one mistake, you were a goner. You were a goner. I remember. Pod race gives me video game PTSD, is what I'm trying to say. Let's see. Ben Quadineros, maybe one of my favorite pod races of all time. Ben Quadineros. Ben Quadineros, legend 27. He is actually from the Toon system, and Toon gets a shout out. The reason I'm excited about it is because in Legends there was a Force related sect called the Sorcerers of Toon.
Oh yeah, I know about that. I've heard of the Sorcerers of Toon. Like I said, yeah.
I will provide a quick. Oh, and they're canon.
The Sorcerers of Toon are canon. Wow. The
Sorcerers of Toon are canon by the audiobook / book Dooku Jedi Lost. But in Legends they were this weird sort of Force cult. There was this guy named Roker Gepta, who was one of the Sorcerers of Toon, who was a major adversary of Lando Calrissian in the between years of the prequels and the originals. So, interesting fact, Sorcerers of Toon. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, Qui-Gon has his kind of true Jedi moment. He, feel, don't think, trust your instincts, that sort of. I love Qui-Gon so much. That's really.
Yeah, Qui-Gon's a cool character.
Yeah. Also, and then, right before the pod race, again, we're not going to cover the pod race in this episode because, well, we don't actually get to see it in 40 to 60 minutes, really. But you know who we do get to see?
Jabba
the Hutt.
No one Jabba's the Hutt.
No one out Jabba's the Hutt. And I want to do a really quick podcast challenge right now, Jacob. I didn't ask. When we're usually doing ranking lists, I usually ask Jacob, and I do the same for myself. I prepare beforehand. But no, I am actually going to do a flash list right now. Jacob, you have a couple minutes. I'm giving both of us a couple minutes. Since Jabba the Hutt is in now, and since he's one of the more scoundrelish characters, not really dedicating to extremely the light or the dark. Top 5 scoundrel characters.
Alright, I think I got this.
Okay, go ahead with your list. Number 5.
Alright. Number 5. Dengar. Toilet paper man.
Dengar the toilet paper man. Good choice. I like Dengar a lot too. Number 5 for me. You would know him as It's Time to Hunt. I'm going with number 5. Bossk.
Bossk. Bossk is good.
Number 4 for you.
Number 4? I had trouble with this one. I said Bossk for number 4 because I think Bossk.
Interesting. Number 4 for me.
I think Bossk is good.
Sidon Ithano. Captain Ithano, aka the Crimson Corsair.
Oh, the Crimson Corsair.
I love the Crimson Corsair. He's so awesome.
No.
Who's your number 3? Yeah.
My number 3 is gonna be Asajj Ventress.
Asajj Ventress.
Once she becomes a bounty hunter,
She is a scoundrel, so you know.
she's like a scoundrel type character, and I don't know, I just find I find her storyline very compelling when she turns from being a Sith apprentice and gets betrayed, and then she's a Night Sister, and then she becomes like a bounty hunter, but she's like evil at first, but then she decides to like try and do the right thing. And I was just
No, she's a really.
I feel like it's kind of a redemption arc because I think she has a very sad story. She gets betrayed. Like her Jedi master, what's his name? Kynerek, I think.
Kynerek, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. But Kynerek gets killed. She's trapped on that planet, and then she becomes Dooku's apprentice. Dooku betrays her, and then she goes to the Night Sisters.
They die.
She tries to assassinate who fails. The entire Night Sister clan
Just gets wiped out.
And she fails to defend them from the Separatist droid army and Grievous. And then even Mother Talzin says like, you have a different path now. And
Yeah. Asajj Ventress, good choice. Yeah. Let's see. Number 3 for me is a tie between 2 characters. Number 3 is a tie between Lando Calrissian and Embo.
oh man, Lando, I forgot about oh man.
Number 2 for you.
Number 2. Oh, this was tricky. I forgot some good ones. Number 2, I'm gonna have to say Lando actually.
Number 2 for me. Number 2 for me, another unexpected one. Enfys Nest.
Enfys Nest. Interesting.
Enfys Nest.
I consider her a scoundrel character, but I guess you would kind of like.
I like Enfys Nest. She's really cool. I liked the whole it's not a man but it's a woman reveal in Solo. Enfys Nest, awesome character. Number 1 for you.
Number 1. You know him. We're loving Stinky! Rod of the Hutt. No, I'm kidding. No. Number 1. I have only one sentence. This is not good business!
Hondo Ohnaka.
The ultimate meme lord character, Hondo Ohnaka.
My friends!
There's been a terrible.
I love Hondo. Hondo's great. My number 1 is completely opposite. This is no longer profitable. Jim Cummings is a genius, man. Let's see, I'm thinking, okay, yeah. My number 1, are you ready for my number 1?
Yeah.
My number 1's just a simple man trying to make his way in the universe. Jango Fett. Yeah.
Jango Fett, Jango and Fett, Jango and Fett.
I'm a big fan of Jango Fett. I like Jango Fett. So those are our top 5. And I think that's gonna end it for this episode. Star Wars in the Galaxy. Make sure to subscribe to us. Anchor, Spotify, Radio Public, Breaker, Google Podcast, all of that nice stuff. And also, make sure to subscribe to our subreddit, r/Star Wars in a Galaxy. And follow us on Twitter at InAGalaxyCast.
That's right, we'll be posting updates there.
We will be posting updates there, and I guess we'll see you guys next time. May the Force be with you, always.
Be with you.